Welcome to the Deep Dives, where we dig into the source material that frankly proves reality is stranger and often darker than anything a writer would dare make up.
It really is.
Today we're tearing into three stories that just defy belief. We're talking about staggering coincidence, intense calculated betrayal, and a psychological experiment that went violently off the rails.
Exactly. And our mission today is to go beyond just telling you the story. We want to pull out the key lessons, the surprising insights from these events to help you understand what happens when people are pushed to, well, to their absolute extremes.
Of virtue or of malice.
Precisely.
So we have three deep dives for you. First, an El Paso police captain saved by a coincidence so perfect it's almost symmetrical.
It actually made it into Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Then we're going to Hong Kong for a tragedy involving a faulty elevator and just a fatal staged act of jealousy.
And finally, the big one, the infamous Spanish UFO hoax. It started as a small social experiment, and, well, it ended up causing a national panic and costing people their lives.
All right, let's dive in. We'll start with that incredible alignment of fate.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's El Paso, Texas. June 29th, 1934, you've got 37-year-old Captain Alan Falby on his police motorcycle. It's a huge 500-pound machine.
And he's in a high-speed chase, right, after a speeding pickup.
He is. And the chase ends abruptly. The truck driver just slams on the brakes. Falby has nowhere to go.
He hits the truck, the bike goes down, and it rolls, pinning him underneath it.
Yeah. I mean, besides all the road rash, the real problem, the life-threatening injury, is a huge gash just above his knee. It's pulsing.
And he's alone on the road, watching this pool of blood just get bigger and bigger. He later talked about the sheer panic of seeing his own life draining out onto the asphalt.
It was absolutely a life-or-death situation, measured in minutes. But luckily, two men saw the crash. They run over.
And they managed to lift this incredibly heavy motorcycle off of him, but the bleeding is it's out of control.
Right, it's a hemorrhage. But this is where the quick thinking comes in. One of the men, incredibly calm, spots Captain Falby's police necktie.
And he uses it as a strap.
He ties it tight, right above the wound. Then the other guy finds a sturdy stick just lying on the side of the road, a solid piece of wood.
So they're improvising.
They're improvising a mechanical tourniquet. They thread the stick through the knot of the tie and start twisting it.
A windlass tourniquet.
Exactly. It creates this incredible amount of pressure, way more than you could get just by tying it with your hands, and it works. The bleeding stops, just like that.
And doctors later confirmed it, right? Just how close he came.
They did. They said if those two hadn't built that specific device, he would have bled to death in about 10 minutes. It's just remarkable resourcefulness under pressure.
Okay, so hold on to that very specific detail. Now we fast forward 4 years. December 12th, 1938.
Captain Falby is fully recovered, back on the force. He's responding to a bad accident out on Route 80. A car has smashed into a tree.
He's the first one there. He pulls the driver, who is unconscious, out of the wreck, and immediately he gets this feeling of déjà vu.
Because the victim has this horrific, profusely bleeding gash on his leg.
And the location, the severity, it's an almost perfect mirror of his own injury from 4 years ago.
So Falby doesn't even hesitate. He doesn't wait for a medical kit. He reaches for his own necktie, finds a stick nearby.
And performs the exact same life-saving procedure. He builds that same DIY mechanical tourniquet that was used on him.
He gets the bleeding stopped, stabilizes the man. But as he's sitting there waiting for the ambulance, he's looking at the guy's face, and something clicks.
He recognizes him.
He does. The man he just saved
Yeah.
was named Alfred Smith.
Don't tell me.
Alfred Smith was the very same man who, 4 years earlier, had spotted Falby's necktie and tied the knot that saved his life.
Wow. He never even knew his name until that moment.
Never. The roles were just completely, perfectly reversed. Same injury, same solution, same two people. And doctors confirmed it again. Smith was just minutes away from death, too.
That is just, the statistical improbability is staggering.
It's a rare, sort of beautiful symmetry that fate sometimes allows. A debt of life paid back, not with thanks, but with a direct mirrored action.
Absolutely incredible. And that line he later gave to Ripley's Believe It or Not just says it all.
One good tourniquet deserves another.
Perfect. But if fate can arrange things for good, we also have to look at when human malice aligns for destruction. So let's shift from that life-affirming coincidence to a calculated fatal betrayal in Hong Kong.
Okay, so the year is 1984, a low-rent apartment building in Hong Kong, and we're looking at December 16th. A 24-year-old electrical engineer, Hao Ron, is walking his girlfriend, Jen Yu, home. She's 23.
And they live on the 13th floor, and the source material says they both really hated the building's old, sketchy elevators. They were known for breaking down.
Right. So Hao Ron sees her safely inside her apartment, then he gets in the elevator to go back down alone. As it's descending, it just stops. Hard, a massive jolt.
He's stuck between the 6th and 7th floors. The doors won't budge. A classic breakdown.
At first. But then he smells something, a sharp, almost chemical, burning smell.
And then he sees it.
He looks down, and fire is flickering up from the floor of the elevator. His pants are actually catching fire. In just absolute panic, he starts punching the ceiling escape hatch.
And he manages to break it open and pull himself up onto the roof of the car, getting cut up pretty badly in the process, but he escapes being burned alive.
Meanwhile, up on the 13th floor, Jen Yu is getting worried. 5, maybe 8 minutes have passed. He should be long gone. She checks the floor indicator.
And sees the car is stuck at 7.
So she does what anyone would do. She assumes he's just trapped and calls the fire department.
Firefighters show up. They pry open the doors on the 7th floor. The car is stuck below them, between 6 and 7. They can see smoke pouring out of the open hatch on top.
And when they shine their lights down into the car, it's empty. It's charred, but it's empty. The chilling part is that the roof of the car around the hatch is smeared with blood.
So they're thinking he climbed out and fell.
That's the immediate thought. They scan the shaft and they spot someone, an injured man, huddled on a tiny little 1-foot-wide platform 1 floor below at floor 6.
So they rush down to get the 6th floor doors open and pull him to safety. He's got deep cuts, a broken ankle.
And Jen Yu runs down. She's so relieved to see they've rescued him.
Yeah.
Until they pull him out into the light. She looks at the stretcher, and her face just freezes.
Hear what she say?
She just says, with this cold clarity, "That's not my boyfriend."
And that's the moment the whole story just turns on its head. If that's not Hao Ron, who is it? And why is he in a burning elevator shaft covered in blood?
The man they rescued was Leo W. Zhang. He was a mutual friend of the couple, and the motive that came out was, well, it was deeply disturbing. Leo was secretly, obsessively in love with Zheng Yu.
This is no accident.
Not at all. He had planned every single step. He waited for Hao Ron to be alone, cut the power to freeze the car between floors, and then he climbed on top of the car.
He poured kerosene through the hatch, that was the chemical smell, and threw a lit match inside.
Forcing Hao Ron to climb out onto the roof to escape the fire.
And Leo was just waiting for him.
He was waiting. When Hao Ron climbed out, terrified and bleeding, Leo attacked him. He stabbed him repeatedly, and then threw his body 7 floors down the elevator shaft to his death.
The ultimate betrayal. And the staging of it all is just, it's chilling. He injures himself, breaks his own ankle to look like a victim.
Exactly. He wanted to look like a hero who had tried and failed to save his friend from some kind of terrible electrical fire.
But the ruse fell apart pretty fast.
It did. Ron's body was found, obviously covered in stab wounds that didn't come from a fall. The arson was undeniable. Leo confessed pretty quickly and was sentenced to life.
It's just a brutal reminder of how, when love turns to obsession, the capacity for meticulous, planned evil is.
Yeah.
It's just limitless.
Absolutely chilling.
Hey, let's pivot one last time. From that kind of focused, personal evil to something that proves a simple lie, once it's validated, can take on a life of its own and cause widespread harm. Let's talk about the Umo hoax.
We're in Madrid, Spain, 1966. And it all starts with a small UFO club called Balena Alegre.
Which translates to Happy Whale.
Happy Whale, yes. The 2 key members for you to know are the leader, Fernando Sesma, who's a passionate believer, and the skeptic, Jose Luis Peñena.
And Sesma gets a letter.
He does. Strange paper, no return address, just this odd symbol on it, like 2 parentheses with a line through them. The letter says it's from the Umite race, from a planet called Umo, and they've been living secretly on Earth for 16 years.
And Peñena, the skeptic, immediately calls it out. He says it's a prank, that their club is the perfect gullible target.
He does, especially because their motto was, believe everything until proven otherwise. But then other club members start getting identical letters, and they just dismiss Peñena's warnings.
No, what's interesting here is that these letters weren't just, we come in peace. They were incredibly dense.
Right, they were almost like scientific manifestos. They talked about physics, sociology, complex systems of ethics. This intellectual weight gave them a kind of credibility that really elevated them beyond just, a simple sci-fi story.
And then it starts to spread.
It really accelerates in 1967. Sesma starts writing a weekly newspaper column about the Umite letters. This takes it from a small club's obsession to a public curiosity. And then letters start showing up at random houses all over Madrid.
But the real turning point, the thing that gave the hoax its devastating momentum, was a photograph.
Yes, a local newspaper published a photo of an alleged UFO sighting near Madrid, and the craft in the picture had the exact same you might symbol on it.
And you have to remember, this is 1967. There are no deep fakes. Faking a photo convincingly and getting it into the media was incredibly difficult.
It was. And that single piece of visual evidence, it validated the whole narrative for the public. It moved the UMites from being a weird theory into something that felt real.
And Piñera, the skeptic, sees where this is all going. He quits the club and starts going on TV trying to warn people.
He's practically screaming that it's all a hoax, that the letters are fake, but it's too late. The public, now armed with a photo and endless media coverage, they just ignored him.
The belief had become a kind of sociological feedback loop. It wasn't about the letters anymore.
No, it was about sharing this experience of panic and wonder. And this is where it turns tragic. The belief had real, deadly consequences.
At least 2 men died by suicide on railroad tracks. Their notes said, "The aliens call us."
And 2 sisters died in a murder-suicide that police directly linked to UMite letters they'd been receiving. It got even worse in the 70s, with UMite-related cults popping up.
One of them even targeted Piñera's own son.
His 7-year-old son, yes,
No.
because of his father's public opposition.
So after 3 decades of this, of panic, deaths, cults, the truth comes out.
In 1996, on a TV special, José Luis Peñena makes a public confession that shocks all of Spain. He admits the entire thing, the first letters, and crucially that UFO photograph was a hoax that he started.
And his motive.
Exactly what he'd said in 1966. He just wanted to prove to his friends in the club how easily people could be manipulated into believing conspiracies. He meant it as a short-term experiment.
But the copycats and the media attention just made it spiral out of his control.
It took on a destructive life of its own.
Wait, hold on. He confesses to starting something that led to multiple deaths, that created cults that targeted his own child. Did he face any legal consequences for this?
It's a fascinating legal question, but no. He faced no criminal charges. The courts essentially decided that he had only written letters and faked a photo. He didn't directly coerce anyone. The deaths were seen as the result of the victim's own choices and the actions of the copycats and cults.
And the original believer, Fernando Sesma.
He died years before the confession, still completely convinced the UMites were real.
What a journey. From the perfect symmetry of that tourniquet rescue to the calculated darkness in that Hong Kong elevator and landing on the massive unintended consequences of the UMO hoax.
And all 3 connect back to these fundamental human themes. You have the power of quick thinking and mirrored altruism in the Falby story.
Then the terrifying depths of malice when obsession takes over, like with Leo. It really shows you how fragile trust can be.
And finally, UMO. I mean, that is maybe the most vital lesson for you listening today in our digital world. It shows the explosive velocity of a viral belief.
Once that one piece of fabricated evidence, the symbol on the photo, validated the fantasy, the whole thing became unstoppable, even when the creator himself tried to shut it down.
Which brings us to our final thought for you. Back in 1967, it took real effort to fake one grainy photograph.
Today, with AI, deepfakes, and social media, anyone can do it in seconds.
Exactly. So the question to leave you with is this. What single compelling piece of fabricated evidence might be fueling a major belief system right now, one that's gaining ground every day, that we are only years away from discovering was just a simple hoax started by a single person?
Something to think about as you scroll through your feeds. We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.